are taking a closer look at the defamation trial for Alex Jones, where we expect to hear closing arguments tomorrow. Both sides rested this morning, and the jury was then sent home until tomorrow at 10 a.m. for closings. But counsel is still going over final jury charges. Remember, the InfoWars host and conspiracy theorist lost a defamation lawsuit by default judgment brought by 8 families and 1 FBI agent, all for calling the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting a hoax on his programming. But to get a closer look at what's ahead, we have Law&Crime's very own Michael Bryant out in Connecticut to bring us the latest. Michael, what's going on out there?
Hey, Terry. Yeah, it's so busy inside with the all-important jury instructions. Some people think it's maybe a bit dry, but as we know, the number one reason for an appeal is bad jury instructions, so it's very important, and they're working on that. Of course, Alex Jones not making the trip from Austin to Waterbury, Connecticut. The judge decided he better explain why to the jury, or at least give them some clue, because they had been told to expect him. In fact, the schedule was kind of rejiggered for his schedule, and then he didn't want to testify. So what the judge told the jury was that Mr. Jones has decided not to testify, which is his right. Simple as that. Now, Norm Pattis, Mr. Jones' attorney, said, well, Mr. Jones really decided to boycott the proceedings because he feels it's a fait accompli, it's a sham, it's all rigged. Judge didn't agree to that explanation and made it much simpler. I'll tell you what's something interesting in these jury instructions surprised me a little bit. We talk about punitive damages in these civil cases that we've become more familiar with at the Law&Crime Network over the last year. We've had these civil cases, including the Deb case, come up. And when punitive damages are talked about, it's usually a secret to the jury as to what limit there may be. As we know, in Austin, punitive damages in the amount of $45 million were awarded in that case against Alex Jones, but because of statute, limited severely. Same thing is true here. They are limited to court costs and attorney's fees. But guess what? There is a jury instruction, a standard instruction. This jury will learn that any punitive damage claim is limited to costs, is limited to attorney's fees, and that number is going to be determined by the judge at a point after the hearing, if in fact it takes place. Because remember, the jury could award zero. They do have to decide that those defamatory statements, yes, liability decided because of the default, but those defamatory statements have to have been the direct cause of injury, emotional distress to the plaintiffs in this case, all 8 of those families and the FBI agent, Terry.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think that the punitive damages award or the compensatory award will be as large as we saw in Texas? Remember, that case only had the one plaintiff. Here we have multiple plaintiffs. So perhaps it'll be larger. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's the best guess, just because of the sheer numbers. In fact, I'd be surprised if it does not exceed that, again, just because of the sheer numbers. Even if each plaintiff family gets a small amount, it's still going to be 8 times that number, whatever that number may be. So, yeah, I would be surprised if we don't see a number in excess. And it was 4.1, as I recall, for the compensatory damages in Austin, and then the massive punies on top of that. We could exceed $100 million in terms of the actual number. What the real number is, once the judge takes a red pen to the attorney's fees and the costs on the punitive side, hey, that's a different number.
That's exactly right. What are your thoughts as far as what the jury, can you see the jury? How were they reacting earlier this morning as far as what was going on in court?
I really, I'm trying to read their faces as best I can. And again, there are 9 in the box. 6 are the official jurors. There are 3 alternates. When they learned Alex Jones was not going to be there, it looked kind of like a mix of disappointment and relief. They had a taste of him on the plaintiff's case, so they know what to expect from him. They've seen clips of him up to and including today. He's a ranter. He's a performer. And so I think probably overall they were hoping to see a little more of that, even though it may or may not affect their ultimate decision. They've seen plenty of this guy already.
That's exactly right, and I don't think bringing him back on the stand is going to help his defense. And frankly, he's claiming that it's a no-win situation because he's already got this default judgment against him. But frankly, I think Norm Pattis made a decision that it would not help the case to bring him back up. You agree with that?
Oh, yeah, and I asked him this morning, hey, what's the deal? Of course, he threw that old attorney-client privilege thing at me, you know, Terry. But I understand that they are not dumb. Norm Pattis is very smart. And they knew that this jury doesn't need to see more of Alex Jones' performance to help the defense. It might have helped the plaintiff.
I couldn't agree more with you on that issue. It definitely helped the plaintiff watching him. He's very provocative, no question about that.